Hello and welcome to Today's Entrepreneurs. I'm Janet Zapala. You know, all of us here in the United States know about .coms. We can't live without them. But how do you start things like that in other countries, for example? Well, we have two people here today who are really successful entrepreneurs. They happen to be brothers, Lee and Thomas from Vietnam. Lee and Thomas Johnson, who've started dotVN, much like .com. And again, if you're in business, you have to have something like a .com. dotVN, much along the same lines. Welcome to the show, first of all, guys.
Thank you, Janet.
Great to have you here. I know that you're both very responsible for where you are today with regard to dotVN, but Lee, this has been your passion for years. How did you come up with the idea of dotVN, and how did you follow through with it to convince the powers that be that yes, this is a viable thing that we need to be doing in Vietnam?
Well, thank you, Janet. In the global internet technology, it has been a while, way back in 2000s, when the .com started booming. And Thomas and I, we are brothers, and we have a chance to look at back. And each country, its own country code, like for that US, for the United States, JP for that Japan. And Vietnam also have the country codes called .vn.
Okay, and this sounds like something that would really serve the people of Vietnam well. Is that one of the reasons why you decided to do that, because you wanted to help the people of Vietnam, Thomas?
Yes, absolutely. The internet was booming in the 90s, and what we wanted to do was be able to help the people of Vietnam.
And why did you think there was a need at that time?
The country was closed to outside world in a sense, and in 2000 the door opened up and we were able to connect with the government, offer our services, and we presented the news of dotVN and its benefits, and they felt that we were the company to be able to achieve those goals.
So in essence, Lee, you are an internet service providing company.
Providing the internet service to the people that needing a website address, a place to host the website, the content, and email. And basically is that we see that it's really popular throughout the world, and Vietnam, it just opened the door. And we like to be the first to come into Vietnam to build the foundations from the ground up.
So you're building an educational tool for the people of Vietnam, a vehicle for them to get more information. Obviously, that's what the internet is about, to get more information, to learn, to utilize whatever their needs are to service them. So is that another reason why you're trying to do this? You felt there was a need for that in Vietnam?
Absolutely. In talking with the government, educating the government, the benefits for the people of Vietnam, we explained to them setting up data centers and then being able to, as a host to all these domain names. And so dotVN is the extension for the entire country. Not only it will be provided for educational purposes, the main goal was for communications, whether it's education or the government communicating, social services, or businesses using that to expand their images and their offerings. So it's a complete solution, and we learned that through our businesses in the United States, and it worked. So therefore, we wanted to bring the solution and control that in such a way that the government feels comfortable with regulations for passing this technology to the users.
That's got to be tough, though, working with the government, right? I mean, that has to be a challenge all by itself. So how are you able to work with the government of Vietnam and convince them that, in fact, dotVN is a viable service to the people of Vietnam?
It's very difficult to working with the government. In fact, that when I went back to Vietnam in 2001 and offering the services that we have available to the government. And in fact that at that time the government don't have the internet policy or any type of regulated for the internet user.
So when you came to them and said, this is what we want to do, did they agree initially or not, Thomas?
Well, they of course have hesitancy because this is very powerful, and the internet at that time wasn't regulated. There wasn't, any policies. So Lee and our attorney was able to put together the protocol. They call internet protocols. The beginning, first steps to writing regulations, and they accepted the protocol, and that marks the beginning of us registering domain names, and we saw a dramatic increase from about 300,000 domains or users actually to today well over 20 million.
Over 35 million.
35 million today.
Wow, so you found your niche and you just built on that based on the backgrounds that you brothers have in technology and the fact that you had a passion for helping the people and you saw the need.
Yes, absolutely. And since then, with our domain registration systems, with our all-purpose info.vn site, with all the information, up-to-date news, weather, commerces, and also we are online to launch our social services website called name.vn or webvn. It's coming together very nicely.
Very good. Well, we'll talk about where you are now because we know you guys have worked really hard over the last few years, but you're really making a lot of progress. We'll talk about dotVN and why it's so important to the people of Vietnam today. We're back in a moment.